Hello.
How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's so good to chat with you, Jessica. Welcome to our 15-minute social video playbook series. I'm really excited to have you here. For everybody that is tuning in, welcome. This is Jessica. I'll have her do a quick intro in a minute as well, so you learn more about the amazing stuff that she is working on. But welcome everybody to the Social Video Playbook. This is our space where for the next 15 minutes, we're going to talk to you about all the things social video, what's working, what's not working, and we're getting quick insights from real leaders working in that space, just like Jessica is, just to help us build this ultimate social video playbook. How do we lean into this new era where it's no longer just tweets and 150 character threads? It is all about video. What does it look like? How are we winning? How are we failing at it? And what are the things we can do to always come out on top? So like I said, I'm Elizabeth. I'm head of growth at Viral Moment. I'm a host of the Social Video Playbook here. Very excited to chat with Jessica. Jessica, tell us about yourself. Tell us all the things
Yeah.
you're working on.
So I am Jessica Painter-Hibbard, and I'm the VP of Creative at Marriner Marketing. So we're really focused on the industries of food, beverage, tourism, and hospitality. So we work with a lot of B2B clients and a few B2C clients as well. So we're doing some really cool stuff over here and definitely a lot of work in the social space. So excited to chat with you today.
Yay, I love that. Yeah, the work that Mariner's doing is pretty cool. So if you haven't, check them out on LinkedIn and on their website. They're doing some amazing stuff. And it's really interesting. We don't get a lot of, I was telling you this a little bit earlier, a lot of B2B conversations here. So your insights, I mean, no matter what angle they come from, are going to be fabulous. But
Great.
I'm so excited. Let's dive in. So first question, we're going to dive into kind of like the big picture across social video. What's the number one shift in your industry? What's the one that like brands just are not ready for?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we're really, focused in those spaces and a lot of B2B clients. And I think what we're seeing is kind of the collapse between B2B and B2C storytelling. So, chefs, operators, procurement leads, tourists, like they're all interacting with video in the same way that all consumers do. So the short form, those authentic, sort of culturally relevant content. But a lot of brands, especially in B2B, still think that social video isn't for them. And it's kind of a huge miss. Like they're missing this massive opportunity in the space because at the end of the day, it's still human to human marketing. And that's an important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it's still human to human marketing, regardless of what sector you're in. How would you say that social video is changing the way that these brands are making the types of decisions of the content that they're pushing out?
Yeah. So it's giving us a lot of visibility to parts of the consumer journey that we used to not have, any contact with. So we can now see like how chefs are discovering new products, how travelers are, finding the local spots or those hidden gems, or even how consumers are learning where their food comes from or like sourcing, you know, that's all coming through in video. And that data is really changing how brands are allocating budgets. And it helps us, as an agency, plan our next move for clients. It can help us even, kind of identify who their audience should be or, make sure that what we're telling our audience is relevant to them.
Yeah. Oh gosh, insights into the consumer journey we didn't used to have. Remember those days? You're
Yeah.
like, it's just top, middle, bottom. Like, just
Long
do the
ago.
thing.
Yeah. Right.
Well, with so many changes that have happened across social, let's dive a little bit into like the pain points about what's happening. What is your biggest challenge with social video right now, being in the VP creative role that you have?
Yeah, so I think it's getting the marketing teams who are used to sort of the traditional types of marketing like trade shows or print materials or really, polished media campaigns to buy into some of these platforms like TikTok or even creator content that's casual to represent their brands because it's especially kind of fleeting content. But they need to understand that it's kind of like future state and we need to get them to invest so that they can sort of build that presence and set themselves up for the future because it is going to be a really important plan or a really important piece of marketing, even in the B2B space. So continuing to grow. And I think, just being able to sell it in and get them to understand the value.
Yeah. That's such a great lead to the next question. How are you facing those challenges in getting them getting them to understand the value, like what's working, what's not working in that.
Yes. It's a lot of testing. So a lot of proof of concept, kind of using some of that lower budget creative that shows how social video can drive awareness, but also conversion. So a lot of time they think that it's all about awareness, like top of funnel, but it really is also about moving them down the funnel. We find ourselves in situations where that performance information is really key in communicating what's working. So that's important. The other side of that, I think, is it can be difficult to get clients to react quickly to trends in order to kind of take advantage of the somewhat viral nature of the social channels. When you find something that is a trend, but it also sort of matches up with the values and seamlessly kind of fits with a brand that you're championing, that's a huge opportunity to kind of move the needle for them. So getting people to act quickly, make the investment, and kind of jump on some of these trends.
Yeah, and that's a big deal too, like knowing there's so many trends, like knowing your company values, and then you can like narrow down the trends because otherwise you're just going to be chasing trends and it's going to be wild.
Right. And if it doesn't align with your brand and you participate, you're sort of sending mixed messages, like it has to be important and sort of ownable to the brand in some way.
Yeah, fascinating. If you had unlimited resources, and I mean, Jessica, like
Mhm.
money, the sky's the limit. How would you solve these challenges and these problems that you're coming up with? What would you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I would start by building a sector specific creator network. So, it could be chefs, it could be managers, local influencers, micro, macro, food content creators that are sort of trained to work with brands, but also empowered to kind of be authentic and be themselves and help us to kind of accelerate that content across the food service and tourism spaces. So this would really help streamline the process for brands and kind of get us over that hurdle of being able to sell in with a single person or a single influencer if we can tap into several. The other thing is I would love to have dedicated specialists in-house. So just like anybody has a specialized role, whether you're an art director or a copywriter, I think social is one of those spaces that you kind of have to like live and breathe it and be able to adapt quickly and stay on top of everything to really be successful. Yeah, so having a whole dedicated team, if resources were unlimited, that's sort of the dream.
Sky's the limit, right? If you're like,
Yeah.
if I could dream of something, I love that too. And a creator network's a fascinating idea. We'll have to talk about that later. It's a really cool idea. Okay, so what is a common mistake that brands make when they're using or interpreting social video that's out there?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this in one of the previous questions, but I think a lot of brands see social video as just serving that awareness KPI, but it can drive real action. It can drive lead gen. It can drive trial of product. You can even, drive sales via social video. And I think when it's done right, those product demos, that behind the scenes content, stories, reels, they can outperform traditional pitch decks in terms of engagement and helping the client with decision making and then helping the consumer, move forward to that purchase decision.
Yeah. Is there just like one is there one like most important things that brands should actually be measuring that maybe they're not looking at as closely?
Yeah, I think a lot of brands focus on reach. So like, well, how many people can I talk to? And like, what am I saying? But, for us, it's really more about who's engaging with the content. So is it the right audience that's watching your demo? Are they clicking through? People saving your content for later. So those engagement metrics, those shares, so not necessarily the viral angle, but really the audience response is so valuable. When we analyze that, we can really inform future decisions really smartly so we can continue to improve that content over time and build a really strong presence.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of goes back to what you're saying. If you're only finding trends that aren't related to your values and your company and who you're after, then you're probably not going to get the right people down the funnel
Right.
or coming in for those demos. Fascinating. So falls along the same lines, but what's one underrated insight that leaders in your field should act on now? What is it?
Yeah, I think we've seen a huge shift in recent years in the value of peer validation. So we want to see the chefs, we want to see the winemakers, we want to see the staff, we want to see, the buyers or the consumer at the center of those stories because ultimately those voices are now carrying more weight than a brand or a tagline or even a campaign in some cases. So A good way we've had success is when we can identify someone within an organization that can really champion the brand, and we sort of elevate them and build content around them to kind of tell that story from within the organization. So I think that's a good way to kind of bring that forward, because people are definitely trusting people more than they're trusting logos.
I love that. So like the chef at a boutique hotel could just have
Yes.
a presence and a story, and you can follow them, and then they
Yeah,
know to
how
go to
do
that
you build
hotel.
them up to kind of be the face and, kind of an articulation of your brand, but in an authentic way through a real person?
Oh, I love that. This is shifting gears a little bit, but like what is
Yeah.
a common assumption that people have about social video that's just like completely wrong?
Yeah, I think some brands think it's too maybe informal for more of serious categories. So, food service, equipment, travel infrastructure. But in reality, I think, the best social videos make those complex products or destinations feel human and approachable. And it's not a threat to the brand. It's more of a growth opportunity, because I think, again, those authentic, real moments really resonate in B2B and in B2C, and we kind of have to start embracing that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. We talked earlier about if the sky was the limit for anything that you wanted, which would be wildly expensive and amazing at the same time. But if you were to get one thing in 2025 that makes social video easier for your business, software, a piece of equipment, a person, what would
Yeah.
that one thing be that could just kind of make all that difference this year for you?
Yeah, so I think seamless access to UGC content would be
Mm,
huge. So there are tools that exist. We use things like Crowdriff, where, in the tourism space, but I would love to see solutions like that show up in other verticals, where we're seeing back of house prep or product, unboxings or struggles from real authentic influencers. And we could tap into that library and kind of have the rights and the attribution handled so that we can just have access to that content really easily to help us, tell our brand stories.
yeah, I love that. And it's coming, or it's here. It's there. We have one extra minute here. So, in your experience, what's one lesson that you've learned from navigating social video that you just wish more people understood? It's a takeaway.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway is that the best performing content isn't about the product or the brand. It's really about the moment. So it could be a food tour, even if you're sharing a recipe, it might be the customer's first bite. That emotion is always going to have, better engagement and more of a reaction from your audience than something that feels like it's really, heavily branded or coming from the business. So video really allows us to package that emotion in a way that, printed pieces, brochures, static banner ads, they can't really do. So, we got to take advantage of it and kind of bring those emotional moments forward and in a real way.
I love that. Jessica, that was literally on point, 15 minutes. I am so impressed by us.
Yeah.
Good job. Your insights are extremely valuable. I am really, really excited to share them with everyone. Everyone, this is how you can follow Jessica on LinkedIn. She's got great insights. Follow Marriner as well. They're doing some amazing work, and reach out if you have any questions. Thank you so much for joining the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll
Thanks for
chat
having me.
soon.
Sounds good.